This is a town entangled in a web of fear, a fear of nightmarish proportions. For beneath this quiet exterior, a gruesome terror lurks. Noon. This is Anytown, USA. Location, northeastern United States. A town like yours, mine, or the town up the block. But at noon, any town is unlike any other town. Some claim it's a noon whistle, some claim it's noon itself. But regardless, when noontime comes around, the people have been known to act like this.
Oh no!
What has caused these people to act in such a strange way? Tonight we examine Anytown, the town that dreaded noon.
Anytown's most thriving... I'm standing in front of Anytown's most thriving example of private enterprise. This local laundromat stands as testimony to the thriving economy which Anytown has been experiencing the last few years. In fact, as one walks through the garment district, as it's called, one is immediately stricken by the frankness and the openness of the people who are willing to discuss their fear.
And the people lying dead. They're raw, decomposing. It's terrible. Have you ever...
Mr. Rex preferred not to be identified.
Well, it's scary, really. It's hard to explain. It's frightening in an existential sort of way, if you know what I mean. Well, the dreams start to bother you first. There's dreams about contaminated milk and Jane Fonda and Planet of the Apes, and it really starts to bother you, and it wakes you up in the middle of the night, and you know there's going to be a horror. There's going to be an explosion, but you can't do it. Oh, come on!
One possible explanation for the townspeople's behavior has been put forth by Dr. B.F. Goodrich, professor of behavioral psychology at Anytown University. Dr. Goodrich contends that the townspeople are reacting, or have been conditioned to react, to the noon whistle much the same way that they've reacted to the air raid sirens in the 1950s.
This is clearly a case of classical or Pavlovian conditioning, as opposed to Skinnerian or operant conditioning. If you remember, in Pavlov's experiments, repeated presentation of the unconditioned stimulus, or the food, evoked the natural response of salivation. Now, Pavlov presented the food along with the conditioned stimulus, the bell, several times, and soon presenting only the conditioned stimulus, the bell, would evoke salivation in the dogs. We know that in human beings, only the autonomic nervous system is susceptible to Pavlovian or classical conditioning. In the townspeople, the unconditioned stimulus has been the air raid, the planes, the bombs. The conditioned stimulus is the siren. The parasympathetic fight or flight response in the human being has been conditioned and is evoked when the conditioned stimulus, the siren, is presented.
Well, we've had quite a bit of success with behavior modification therapy. And now that we understand this phenomenon, we should easily be able to overcome the response.
Town chemist Richard Larryman offers his own explanation.
The problem with these people is not purely psychological. The problem is also biochemical, or more specifically, psychopharmacological. A research team led by myself has recently discovered that a major pharmaceutical company has been dumping mass quantities of waste products into the drinking water, which in aqueous solution decompose into a powerful hallucinogen. In other words, the people in this town are walking around in a constant state of drug-induced psychoses merely by drinking the water. Kind of like Jerry Garcia was about 13 or 14 years ago. Now, if you'll excuse me, I am a little thirsty.
Yet there are some who maintain there is no problem at all. We took our camera crews to the office of Dr. Richard Gilman, professor of philosophy at Anytown University.
The so-called problem in any town is first of all a matter of perception. We perceive that the behavior of the people in any town is abnormal due to our fixed standards of normality. However, we've learned long ago that there are no objective standards of behavior to which all societies must conform. Take, for example, however, the cannibals of Africa. They roast and cook people, eat them alive. Who is to say that the cannibals are wrong?
This has been a test of the emergency noon broadcast system. Stay tuned next at 12:30 for the Diet Revolution and You with our own Dr. Robert Atkins. Today's topic, curing schizophrenia with vitamin E. Right now we continue our musical programming with Blondie.
We spoke to Anytown Mayor John Q. Public.
Anytown, USA is a small but thriving community of about 10,000. 10,001. We live here, work here, play here. As a matter of fact, our favorite slogan is live, work, and play in Anytown, USA.
Well, you say it's a thriving community. Can you offer me any evidence to that point?
Oh, sure. I think we're growing just like any other big city. Let me give you a few examples. Last year, crime rate up 150%. Property taxes shot up 75%. The literacy rate dropped to an abominable level.
I see. Well, has the people's fears, I hate to call them that, but let's say, we'll call it the fear of the noontime whistle, has that affected the growth rate of this otherwise thriving community?
Oh, well, I wouldn't say that. I would say there's a certain pride, certainly, a sense of commitment.
Has it affected the growth rate at all?
Yes.
And exactly what have you done as mayor to adapt to this situation?
Well, it's a simple political maneuver, just like any other need that the people have. We just tax.
But wait a minute, Mr. Mayor. Hasn't the recent trend in modern city government been to cut costs? I mean, if we look at things even on the federal and state level, Proposition 13, and it seems like there's a tendency towards reducing the cost of government. How can you explain this sort of thing?
Well, I certainly think that's true, and I think that we at Anytown are doing our part. For example, just look at these suspenders. These aren't any extravagant purchases I've made. These are just the bare bones. And look at this Jackman. Most modern mayors have a 6-foot Jackman. Mayor Koch, for example, has a 4-foot Burger King. But no, not me. I have a 3-inch Jackman here. This is all I need. I'm just trying to get by with what
Anytown Councilman Ayatollah Somoza. Councilman Somoza, excuse me. Councilman Somoza?
I roused her. I shook her, then slapped her face. But I got no...
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. Yes, what can I do for you?
Yes, well, several town officials have given us various explanations for the townspeople's apparently irrational behavior. Do you have any insight, perhaps, to the situation?
Yes. As you can see, there is really no problem. Look around you. Do you see any problem? But there are reports, and if you follow me, I think perhaps I can explain it all to you.
I think this is a clear-cut case of fear begetting fear. A few people are afraid of 12 o'clock, and everybody's afraid of 12 o'clock. I think it was best said when it was said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. What goes up must come down. A stitch in time saves 9. The bigger they are, the harder they come. A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush.
Is the problem in Anytown merely a matter of psychological conditioning? Or is the problem actually rooted in our own misperceptions of normalcy? Is the problem, as some have alleged, merely a means by a corrupt government to extract even more taxes from an already burdened population? Or is it, as even others have said, a matter of fear creating fear, fear feeding upon itself? Well, those are the questions, and quite honestly, we don't have any answers. We're the news media. We only get paid to criticize. So from Anytown, USA, this is Christopher Stein saying good night.